George, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
You're also very,
Pleasure to be here.
You're also very, very popular. Try not to run on North Belfast. To say that you're outspoken is really an understatement, and I suppose one of the questions is, because you do all of this against what people would normally term against the odds. So what drives you? I mean, when you think of things like you're a defender of Hezbollah in the Lebanon, hardly the most popular position to take.
It is in the Lebanon.
It is in the Lebanon. And quite possibly in North Belfast. But tell me what drives you.
Well, I have, I think, a clear ideology. I'm ideologically driven. I believe in socialism. I'm a lifelong hater of imperialism. I come from an Irish background, as you alluded to in the introduction. And I came home one day. I am a Celtic fanatic. I came home one day and I told my Irish grandfather that the teacher had said the British had an empire so vast that upon it the sun never set. And my grandfather said that's because God would never trust the British in the dark. And I've hated the British Empire with all my heart. I've hated the American Empire with all my heart, and I've dedicated the best part of my life to opposing it. So I'm driven by these two things. I believe in liberty and freedom. I hate oppression and exploitation. I remain a Roman Catholic. I believe that these are God's works to fight against exploitation. And I ask people not to lose that faith, because you here in the north of Ireland have won. You have won a great victory by your resistance to empire and your opposition to oppression and injustice. The great prize of Irish unity is in front of you, and I believe fervently that you will achieve it. And a victory for Gerry Kelly here in Belfast will bring that day sooner.
And I just want to ask, I was going to tell you this, but I just want to ask George to explain the background behind it, because that in itself, I think, is interesting too.
Well, I had been one of the leaders of the campaign against sanctions on Iraq, and then inevitably, as the danger of war grew larger, one of the leaders of the anti-war movement. I was one of the organisers of the big demonstrations in London and elsewhere. So I knew that the fall of Baghdad and the apparent triumph of the invaders would mean open season on those of us who had stood against it. But I was unprepared for the nature of the allegations that were made. And indeed, they were never actually made to me. As I was explaining to you earlier, I was actually at Heathrow Airport returning from somewhere when the BBC rang me to tell me that some Senate committee had published a finding that I, indeed not just me, but Nelson Mandela's secretary, with whom I worked closely, one of the secretaries to the then Pope, with whom I worked closely on the issue, 5 of us. One of them, I forget his name now, a former foreign minister in France, who had opposed the Western policy on Iraq, had all actually been in the pay of Saddam Hussein. So this was a bolt from the blue on the telephone. I was live on the radio from Heathrow. And I said, well, I'm at Heathrow now. I'll go home, I'll pick up my toothbrush, and I'm flying to Washington. So tell that Senate committee, they better put out a chair for me, because I'm coming to answer this. And I did that. The very next day, I flew to Washington. The media hype was tremendous, so the committee couldn't really refuse to see me. I didn't have notes because I didn't need them, because I had been living and breathing this Iraq story throughout the 90s, when these sanctions were killing an Iraqi child every 6 minutes of every day and night. and it was all flowing from my fingertips. The chairman, now ex-Senator Norman Coleman, who lost by 300 votes out of 1.3 million votes, and I went to campaign against him in Minnesota.
I haven't asked him yet to campaign against Dodds, but it's in my head. You know?
I'm ready to fight Dodds any day, I'll tell you that. If anyone's ever been in a boxing ring, there comes a moment in a contest where you can see in your opponent's eyes that they no longer want to be there. And that was exactly how Senator Norman Coleman looked by the end of that session. If they could have thrown in a towel to bring the whole thing to a close, they would have done so.
I mean, respect has a good ring to it, and actually in New Lodge they do a respect week here, but why pick respect? I know what it stands for, read it out earlier, and making a difference. Because I presume what you get attacked for, which all small parties get attacked for as well, you're not going to really make the difference. What's your answer to that?
Well, you've got it there on your poster. One person makes a difference. If the people involved work with the spirit of Che Guevara, Mairead Farrell, and the late and great Bobby Sands, then if they follow that spirit, if they work in that way, they really can make a difference. And we've gone from having one councillor to having 21. I believe that in a few weeks we'll hold both of the parliamentary seats in the London Borough of Tower Hamlets, which is a borough with £1 billion budget, employing thousands of people, scores of thousands of houses and buildings of all kinds and so on. And you build a base, don't you? And you build out from that base. I believe we'll win a seat in central Birmingham with a great young woman called Salma Yaqub, who will be the first ever Muslim woman in the British Parliament, wearing a hijab, standing up for liberty and progress and opposing war and bigotry of all kinds. And you can see the growth, and that's exactly what you did. You started with no councillors, and now you're a power in the land. And your leaders are recognised as head and shoulders above all the other leaders on the island of Ireland. So if we can do half as well as you over the next 25, 30 years, I'll be gone by then, but that we've got a tremendous number of young people coming through. And I think one person, one organisation, small organisation, can make a difference as long as they're doing and saying the right things and working in the right way. I've taken 3 convoys of aid into Gaza in the last 12 months. By the way, with some very good people from Ireland on all 3 of the convoys, and we've got another one going by ship soon. And whether the Israeli Navy stops us or not remains to be seen, but we intend to try. It's our duty to try. Let them do what they will. Mm-hmm. I do believe in it. But I know from these 3 convoys, and I knew from my work in the mid-80s in sub-Saharan Africa, that actually all the charity in the world isn't going to change things. At the height of Live Aid and Band-Aid, for every pound that every good person in these islands gave to the starving people in Ethiopia, the banks were taking £2 from Ethiopia in interest charges and other charges for the debt which the dictatorship in Ethiopia had incurred, and the arms manufacturers were taking even more than that. What's needed is a complete change, a complete revolution in the relationships between the rich and the poor in our own countries, and the rich countries and the poor countries in the world. And that's what I'm fighting for. It doesn't mean you can't do a little bit to help some people now, but if that's all you did, you wouldn't actually be changing anything.